Hey everybody, Brian here for Work to Game, and today I wanted to talk to you about the recent Famitsu interview that Yoshi-P gave regarding Final Fantasy XIV's Japanese FanFest Keynote, which was just a few days ago at the time of this recording. So I want to give I'm going to go through the interview and also give my thoughts and kind of maybe opinions on the various answers that Yoshi-P gives. Now, this interview was translated by my friends over at GamerEscape.com. I would highly recommend you check out the link below in this article to get to the article itself, as well as their wiki for any kind of thing that you might get stuck on as it relates to Final Fantasy XIV. And I believe they also have a Final Fantasy XV wiki that they've been working on as well. So check them out, give them some love. They do a lot of really good work. And it was Macko Turn who, if anybody follows any of the live letters, did the translation for GamerEscape, which is really good. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of dive right in to the interview now and kind of go over pretty much these 5 key themes that we've got. Yoshi-P's opening keynote, the new Red Mage job, the importance of diving and swimming, Final Fantasy 30th anniversary, as well as how it relates to Stormblood and the Garo collaboration event as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So this, Famitsu is going to be asking all the questions, and then Yoshi-P is going to be responding, and I should be able to put them up on the screen so you can read them as well. So, in comparison to Las Vegas, did your state of mind change in any way? The nervousness didn't change, but I was able to give new information for the upcoming expansion Stormblood, which is drawing a lot of attention, so I feel relieved as well. Also, the keynote was in Japan, making me able to give information much more directly, as Japanese is my mother tongue. The audience cheered a lot, so I think we were able to pull it off quite well. I definitely feel for Yoshi-P in this regards, namely because you gotta feel that there's some level of nerve-wracking, even though you've got millions of players and you've relaunched the game. You are creating a a thing that can be completely rejected and it could turn on you real quick. So you never know, if hey, we think this announcement's gonna be amazing, and then everybody just hates it, so then you're like, oh. So that's got to feel good to be able to come off the stage with excitement. I think anybody could probably relate to that. So they ask, how was the response? The fan festival started in Las Vegas, and then we have Tokyo today, and finally we'll have the Frankfurt one. So you could say that today was the middle point. January 17th, 2017 is also a milestone towards the expansion for the game, which is when 3.5 releases. After that, we'll have the Frankfurt Fan Festival in February. The Frankfurt FFXIV, a lot of F's there. Following with patch 3.5 and part 2 in March. So I think that everything will connect quite smoothly. I think that it went very well as the middle milestone. And that's really quite, I haven't even put the timeline together fully in my mind, but you had, December for the Japanese Fan Fest, January for 3.5, February for the European Fan Fest, part 2 of 3.5 in March, and then we'll probably see in April, May, bunch of marketing, bunch of information regarding Stormblood. So it's going to be kind of a real big, half a year for Final Fantasy XIV going into 2017. So that's exciting. I really like getting all that information. When looking at all the information overall, how much were you able to give out today? And Yoshi-P says about half. The other half will be revealed in Frankfurt. Yes, I think that everyone will listen to the reveals with even higher excitement after experiencing 3.5. The excitement might raise to a higher level, so many players might have a hard time waiting for Frankfurt. There is a 1-month gap between Tokyo FanFest and patch 3.5, so it will give us good momentum for Frankfurt for the Frankfurt FanFest. So yes, that's I really am excited because obviously they teased the Bend of Time Omega, and they said he's going to be kind of a part of the story, which is really exciting. I can't wait to get my hands on 3.5. I'm sure any current Final Fantasy player is actively excited about that. But it's also great that it's and then we're going to be going into Frankfurt, having that part of the story. Everybody kind of speculates, is it Ida, is it not? Maybe these questions will be answered and we'll be able to go into the Frankfurt Fan Fest being, and they'll be able to show off a lot more without the fear of spoiling what they've got planned for 3.5. So that's going to be great. So they say one new job was revealed this time. And Yoshi says, I think they wanted more information during Las Vegas. Oh, I think that's, no duh there. So we discussed with the development team and the marketing team to open the Tokyo FanFest Keynote with a new job. A lot of players got excited right from the start by doing so. I have to say that I think that was always probably their plan to do that. They, pretty much did that last time, except for it was in Europe. But I do, for anybody who doesn't know, it's like, when you're working with the marketing team and the, you have to have that plan. There is a budget and there's a plan, and it's executed because there's so much information that can get mismanaged. And you can see when companies don't manage their marketing and what they say right. I guess Xbox One is a classic example of poor marketing. People can say like, oh, the system, it was going to do all these things, or it wasn't going to do all these certain things. And whether that was right or wrong, marketing essentially was one of the biggest things that they messed up on, outside of just a couple of the other, obviously, key things. But this is not what this is about. But just as an example, that marketing is very important. I think they were always, so when they say that they were talking with the development and marketing team, this was, a year and a half ago, saying, hey, here's what we want to do, and this is when we want to kind of start to tease it, etc. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that one. So they ask, why did you pick Red Mage as the new job? So when I became director producer for Final Fantasy XIV, I told my team that we have to implement jobs that are true to Final Fantasy. So we returned to those roots. Since 2017 is also the 30th anniversary for Final Fantasy, many players will look back at old jobs. When we look at the roots of Final Fantasy, we couldn't leave out Red Mage, so we made the decision. We also received a lot of feedback that many players wanted to play Red Mage with Final Fantasy XIV graphics and the battle system, which made our decision very easy. Absolutely. I think even earlier on, when we look at interviews before 2.0, Yoshi-P was asked about Red Mage, and the conversation for Red Mage is long going. In fact, I think that by delivering that job, it's going to be one of those kind of big milestones for things that were talked about for a very long time. And obviously, the debate has always raged: is how will Red Mage work in Final Fantasy XIV? What is this? What is this red magic that you speak of? All right, so more on Red Mage. It was revealed that Red Mage uses a rapier and a Magitech crystal medium. Does the rapier do physical damage? And Yoshi responds, physical is physical. That's a good question. If I say too much here, I might be in a dangerous position. Okay, so that's interesting to know. I would be surprised if when you're hitting somebody with your rapier, you're not doing physical damage, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see for more information on that. What equipment slot will the Magitech Crystal Medium take? The weapon will divide into two when drawn and will connect again when sheathed, so it isn't an offhand weapon. There won't be situations where you have a rapier without a crystal, so stay assured. So one of the things I think is fascinating, outside of like a few weapons for Black Mage and Conjurers or White Mage, where you have a wand and a shield kind of thing, it is pretty much where Paladin has that offhand weapon, and the sword and then the offhand shield. And so there really isn't any, gear that's designed for any other job that way. And I was wondering if they were going to do that with Red Mage. This obviously confirms that they aren't. I don't know how popular it is. I know that you just kind of get both pieces cheaper, but in this case, it appears that, like the dual wielding ninja, it's, that's the slot that they use. They've got the one slot. And so we'll, continue probably to see that going on here as well. So Red Mage is a pure DPS. Yes, it's a pure DPS. So that's good and interesting to know. When he says pure, meaning, are we not getting any support type functionality? I mean, like something like Bard or Machinists have. I was thinking maybe we would have some of that in it, but when they say pure DPS, that really makes me think on the lines of Summoner and Black Mage. So that's fascinating and it's pretty interesting. Also to note, so on the slide, it talked about how red magic was a combination of black magic and white magic. And when you think about it, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you can cure, and then you can also do damage. But if you think about it on the set of Final Fantasy XIV and at the set of this answer of a pure DPS, it's pure speculation on my point for this pure DPS right now. But that maybe what it means is that white magic has arrow, water, so it has air, water, and stone. Black magic's got fire, ice, and lightning. Maybe red magic is a combination of that, where you have access to all the different elements at your disposal, which could be fascinating, and I wonder how that will play out. But again, I'm just speculating based off of this pure DPS answer here right now. So, in what position does it fall when compared to the other DPS jobs? It highly depends on how the battles progresses and party members, so it is hard to say. It is the new job, so we want to make it exciting to use for everyone. However, other companies tend to appeal to new release jobs by overpowering them. Stay assured this won't be the case for Final Fantasy XIV. We will make sure to balance it out with the other jobs. At the same time, I could easily see that adjustments will be coming with 3.1 and 3.2. We had the same kind of setup with the current new jobs as well as the existing jobs. It's just a matter of something that you have to look at the numbers and how people play it and what ends up happening with it. So but it's good that they're always putting that balance into mind, and it's fascinating to see how true that statement is. If it is a super true statement that pretty much when other companies release that new class or job or something like that they overpower them to draw a lot of excitement. I think that Yoshi-P at least recognizes there is automatically a lot of excitement for new jobs. So that shouldn't be necessarily the case. Okay, some players might have been surprised with the fact that Red Mage will be DPS. I also have the image of Red Mage being a hybrid job between Black and White Mage. However, we had to fit it into the Final Fantasy XIV formula. Otherwise, it might turn out as a job that isn't too useful. Final Fantasy XIV is a standalone title in the Final Fantasy series, so while keeping the essential roots of the Red Mage job in general, it will be unique to Final Fantasy XIV as well, so you will see it as a new type of Red Mage. This is both good and bad news, especially for anybody who expects one thing and then doesn't get what they expect. So if people are obviously expecting Red Mage to play like it did in 11, they're going to be disappointed. However, if people are looking forward to playing Red Mage and learning how it works in the world of Final Fantasy XIV, I think they're going to be excited. And that's pretty much how everything works. No one job in Final Fantasy XIV plays exactly like it has in the past, and I don't think anybody would truly want that. They want to have that feeling, but they don't want to essentially have it the same kind of play style as well. So I'm excited for Red Mage, obviously. Okay, so what kind of magic do you plan to use as Red Magic? And he says it's a bit early to reveal that. We are still in the stage of trial and error, so I think that we'll be able to give you more concrete information in April and May. And so when I read that, I was like, how close is it that they wrap these things up? And I'm wondering if trial and error means more about balance adjustments, or if they're just playing around with different skills and effects to see. Regardless, it seems like they're doing a lot of testing with the job, and I'm very hopeful to see. Very much looking forward to April and May regarding Red Mage and seeing how that comes along. All right, will Red Mage's auto attack be melee or ranged? It is a ranged job, so we want to balance it out in a way that it won't lack in that department. That's all I can say for now. I don't want to say anything specific before we get confidence that it is for the jobs. So this is fascinating, I think, because if you think of kind of that ranged auto attack, Bard pretty much has it, but then with Heaven's Word, they take it away with like Wandering Minstrel, Minuet. Anyway, I don't play Bard. I apologize. So that turned Bard into kind of like a casting mage. Now the cast times are pretty quick, so I'm wondering how that's going to affect with Red Mage. Will we see a job that has the ability to have a ranged auto attack, much like the Summoner's Eggy? And so I think could be very fascinating if they reintroduce that to where all of a sudden you have the Bard Mage, the Bow Mage, and then you have Red Mage, which has that auto attack, gives you that mobility. Because they did talk about high-speed positioning, Anyway, just speculation, just some thoughts that popped in my head with it. So, run with it as you will. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And then if you're a bard, will that piss you off? If you're still a bow mage, and then red mage does not need to sit here and has the mobility that you want to add. Anyway, all right. If you so you wore a Spider-Man t-shirt today. The director of Spider-Man movies is Sam Raimi, so that means Spider-Man has a few movies, and there isn't only one director. It might be a Spider-Webber. I like Spider-Mage better, but whatever. I stated earlier that we will implement jobs true to the Final Fantasy series, so you might argue, what do you mean, Spider-Webber? Anyways, please do speculate. Will do. We will continue to speculate. Excuse me. I don't know. Honestly, I would love Samurai. I would love Blue Mage. And as a part of the other video that I've got, put it up here, a link to it if you haven't checked it out as well. All right. Flying had a big role in Heavensward. Will swimming and diving also have a big importance? And Yoshi-P says, in Heavensward, you unlock flying after finishing the main quests in that area. So it wasn't really necessary for the main quests. With swimming and diving, you will need to do it for certain main scenario quests, which is why you will need to get the ability to do so. Other than the main story quest, you won't be forced to play the game to swim and dive. However, there will be content for it that will expand the game experience. Flying is only a means of transportation, but there is content that you won't be able to do unless you dive, which gives it even more importance than flying. Good to know? Fascinating. And so for those of you who might not remember at this point, to unlock flying in the zone, you had to collect the Aether Currents. I guess, how could you forget? But yeah, you would do the quest, you'd do the main story quest. So that was kind of the reward. That was one of the motivating factors behind also doing some of the side quests to get that unlocked. Here, the main, it sounds like you're going to need to have that ability to do some of the main story quests, which is fascinating. And I'm very excited to see what that means. All right. They ask, will there be dungeons and towns underwater? And Yoshi-P says, I won't say no. So it'll be fascinating to see if we get underwater dungeons. Obviously, they said there weren't going to be any fighting. So if there was going to be any fighting parts, it would have to be in some kind of air cave under the water. I don't know. Maybe there'll be parts in which that you have to dive and swim through. Who knows? But if nothing else, I kind of do expect towns, especially after the, as we learn more about the various beach tribes and what we need to interact with down under the water. So it should be quite fascinating, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Question, will you be able to swim in the Limsa housing area? And Yoshi says, I can't comment on that. We will reveal the new housing area in Frankfurt, so please stay tuned for that. So he can't comment on swimming in the Limsa housing area. That'd be cool. And then they're going to reveal the new housing area in Frankfurt. So I wonder if it's going to be underwater housing. Maybe. I don't know. Try to garden all your, you never have to water your plants. They all just drown. All right. So you mentioned the 30th anniversary when talking about Red Mage. What kind of year do you want to make it for Final Fantasy XIV? So with Stormblood, we are aiming for a new level rather than aiming for stability. Final Fantasy XIV still isn't finished. There is still a lot of attractions we want to add to the game. We are challenging ourselves to satisfy the needs of the current generation of games as well as players. So we look at ourselves as challengers. I think Stormblood will be the first title to mark the 30th anniversary, so we want to release it with that in our minds as well. So if anybody who might not be aware, Yoshi-P thinks of Final Fantasy XIV as a theme park, and that expression for MMOs has been thrown around for a lot. So you have, within the theme park, you have a lot of attractions, a lot of rides, a lot of things that you can go and do, but you don't necessarily have to always do all of the things to have a great experience. So when he talks about that, when he talks about the attractions, it sounds like there's still a lot of things they want to add into the game. So, and then he talks about how the Stormblood will be the first title to mark the Final Fantasy 30th anniversary for the game. So that is exciting, and I like that they're keeping that in mind as well. They knew this time was coming, so it's not like this is a surprise. You don't just get caught off by your 30th birthday when it's one of your biggest franchises as a company. So I think that we'll hopefully see some really cool, whether it's collaboration or crossover events, or, I mean, even when you look at the Alliance raid, Return to Ivalice, that kind of ties into this concept of, this great Final Fantasy history. And then Final Fantasy XIV in and of itself, with so much fan service, does do callbacks to so many great Final Fantasy games. So it is, I think, a great medium for them to be able to do some fun things for us, for the Final Fantasy fans out there, for the 30th anniversary. So that's going to kind of kick it off. And that means that we'll also probably see more things from Square Enix in 2017 for their 30th anniversary. All right, this time, and forgive me on any mispronunciation of names or just bad English in general. This time, Ketia A and Yasumi Matsuno will join the team as guest creators for the new Alliance raids. Do you see that as a new challenge? There are many developers and creators that love to play Final Fantasy XIV, and it's very exciting to be able to develop a game with somebody that is passionate about it. We introduced them as special guest creators, but we think of them as extra special newcomers. I don't hold back when it comes to work, so I kept asking Masuna-san, do you understand the scale of the schedule, right? And things like that. To Masuna-san, this is a new opportunity to reintroduce Ivalice to the Final Fantasy series. For Ketia, this is a new challenge with his artistic touch and fresh ideas, as well as Masuna-san's experience with Final Fantasy. We should be able to introduce new features to the game. This is great. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they create, especially when it comes to how they're going to do Return to Ivalice as an Alliance raid. I'm really looking forward to it. At the same time, I'm wondering if it's going to make me wish for more Ivalice in the world of Final Fantasy XIV. And so I don't know if we're going to see any more of that kind of connection as well. Can you tell me about how you got started working together? With Masuna-san, we started discussing development and him joining the team from spring of this year. During the discussions, we decided on a few things, and now he's working for us. As with Ketia, we are looking through the media into what is popular and stumbled on to him because of Garo. Will we be able to play the new Alliance raid from 4.0? The Alliance raid is planned for 4.1. However, it is coming into shape quite well. So I think he'll be able to give more information on that at an earlier time. We might be able to talk about it in more detail after the release of 4.0. When it comes to Heaven's Word, there is a pretty long wait time between 3.0 and 3.1, no doubt. This time, as we started discussing the end development at an earlier stage, so the gap won't be as large this time. Therefore, you can say that the raid will be released not so far away from the release of the expansion itself. This is really good news. One of the big concerns I think a lot of us have had is how long is it going to be from 4.0 and 4.1. Last time it was very long. Lots of burnout happened during that time period. Even though you had such great content, it did kind of set the stage of just like this, oh, goodness gracious, So I'm very excited to hear them talking about that as the schedule with this as well, because I'm really excited about it. Should we start collecting wolf marks for the upcoming collaboration with Garo? The more currency you have when it starts, the faster you will get that collaboration gear. That's good to know. Cap your wolf marks. All right. Will it be challenging to get all of the gear? And Yoshi responds, if you're asking about one job, then pick gear for the job that you think looks best and coolest. So if you're trying to collect jobs for all the gears, it sounds like yes. It sounds like you're going to do some grinding. A lot of players play PvP now. That would be great, but first it'd be great if players didn't really want to fight with each other. So I think more or less that Yoshi-P is making a joke there because he is a fan of PvP and has stated so many times before. Will we get the Garo motions as well? And I don't really know what that means per se. I haven't seen Garo, so he says there are no motions. The period in which that you can do it will be longer than the Yoki Watch collaboration. So if people are loud enough, we might be able to give the message to Ketia. With this collaboration, we had a lot of people from actual Garo come and work with us on the development. Actors, sound directors, CG, etc. So the quality is very high when compared to the television series. Of course, some details will be left out, but the director was lost for words when checking the results for the first time because it looked very good. I think people will enjoy it very much. That's really cool. I like crossover events. They're a lot of fun. From the time in which that they will have it, Yoki Watch lasted a very long time, and I always wonder if that means that we'll ever see it come back, because they have that code in the game. And same thing kind of goes for Garo. So it seems like it's going to be something that runs for quite a long time. And then they ask in the final question, by the way, it was said that we get mounts through achievements. Should we get the current PvP achievements beforehand? And then Yoshi-P said, we won't add the mounts to the currently existing achievements. So no, it doesn't seem like it's going to matter if you get your PvP achievements beforehand, unless for some reason they're building on top of the existing achievements. So they're new achievements, but they build on top of it. Either way, if you enjoy it, play it. It sounds like capping your world marks is a good idea regarding the Garo event and the gears in and of itself. So with that, that's actually the conclusion of the interview. Again, thanks to GamerEscape and Macko Turn for putting this together. Thanks for Yoshi-P and Famitsu for talking with one another and being able to provide this information. So we were able to glean some new information about Stormblood with Final Fantasy XIV. It seems like that 4.1 is going to be much closer. Red Mage is a pure DPS. A lot of really cool little things. So let me know in the comments below what you liked, what questions you would ask to Yoshi-P if you had the opportunity. Hit that like button if you like this video, and if you didn't, I think the other button works just as well too. So that always lets me know what you think and how I can improve. So outside of that, thanks so much for watching. My name's Brian. This is Work to Game, and I'll see you hopefully in my next video.